Hi everyone, this is Sarah from SRSDesigns, and today I'm going to show you how to make this Loomigurumi Kawaii cloud. He's a squishy little guy. For this project, you are going to need about 252 bands in the color of your cloud, and I'm going to use the electric glow blue. You'll also need a hook. You'll need something to mark your stitches, either a stitch marker, C-clip, paper clip, something like that. You're also going to need eyes. I am using 6mm safety eyes that I got off of Amazon. And you're also going to need some stuffing. So let's get started. We are going to start our cloud with a magic ring of 6. So you take one ring, you put it one band, and you put it on your hook, and you're going to wrap it around 3 times. So you're going to make 3 loops right there. We're going to pull through 6 bands. So you put a band on the end of your hook, and you're going to slide those 3 loops on. Put it back on the end of your hook. Pinching those, you're going to make a slip knot, pulling one end through the next. And then we're going to start over and do the same thing. Hook through the middle, pull one band through those 3 loops, back on, and then we're going to make a slip knot, and then we're going to pull it through the second band. So now they've been attached. We're going into that center again. This is pulling through the 3rd band, slip knot with the 1 band, and then slip knot through the 2nd to attach them. So this is 4, 5, and 6. So if you weren't counting, you can count 1 stitches. Number 1 is on your hook, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is where we want to go back. Our next row, we're going to increase from 6 to 12. So we're going to be adding 2 bands to each of the single crochets that are there. So let's pull our first one through, and then we're going to put our stitch marker here. This is going to tell us where we began. Going back in the same exact spot we were before. And then put in your 2nd band, so that's 2. This is 3. And 4. 5. And 6. The next one has 7 and 8. And the next 9, 10, and then we're finishing this row with 11 and 12. And the next place that we can go is underneath where our stitch marker is. So that's, we're going to put your hook so we can start our next row. In our next row, we're also going to have 12. We're going to put 1 band in each of these to equal 12. So let's start with our first. Here's 1, and I'm going to flip that stitch marker from the row we were on to the current row we're working on, so we know where to start and stop. So that's 1. So here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then we're going to put in 12. And that was our last. And the next place we can put our hook is right under the stitch marker. Our next row, number 4, is going to have 11 stitches. So we're going to start with a decrease, and then we'll do 10 singles around. So to do a decrease, Here's the first stitch that we have on our hook, and you would normally just go ahead and do it, but to decrease, we're going to put together 2 stitches. We want to lock these 2 in together, so it goes from 2 to 1. So we're going to take a band and pull it through the first stitch and then through the second stitch. So what was 2 now just became 1. And then we're going to move our stitch marker to that part there. And then here is where we did the decrease. So our next spot we can put our hook is here. So then we're going to do 10 singles. So now that's 1 single, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, because when you're doing Loomigurumi, where you start and stop tends to move, this pattern is not going to be very straightforward because we're trying to keep this bump here all at the same spot. And you know when you've done Loomigurumi that your start and stop kind of like move on an angle across as you go. So we just need to keep that in mind. I just needed to make sure that the curve, the bump of our cloud was always ending up in the same spot when I was designing this. Our next row is number 5. We're going to increase to 16. So in our first stitch right here, we are going to put 3 crochets, 3 bands in the first stitch. So here it is. Here's the first one. And I'm going to move the stitch marker. And I'm going in the same exact place for the second. And then I'm going to put a third one in the same spot. So we got 3 stitches in 1. Then I'm going to move to the next, and we're going to do 9 single crochets. 1, 2, moving along, one in each. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. And we're not done. So here we're going to put in the last one, we're going to put in 3 crochets in the last. So we got 1, same spot, 2, and then 3. And this, where we're putting the 3 stitches in 1, is starting to make our shape where we're expanding here. And then we're going to go back under where our hook was and start our next row. In this row we're going to start with 3 crochets again in the same spot. So here, 1, that's our first. Now we're going to move our stitch marker. Same spot, 2 more, 2 and 3. So it's like an increase plus 1. And then we're going to move to our next stitch and we're going to do 13 single crochets starting here. 1, 2, 3, not in the same spot. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oops, 5 slipped. Oh, got a couple slipping. If this happens to you where they slip off, they're all knotted, so you can kind of just grab them and pull them back through. Now, what did I say that was? 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that was 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So that was 13, and we've got 1 stitch left before our stitch marker, and we're going to put 3 single crochets in this one spot. So we're going to put 3 bands through. 1, back in the same spot, 2, back in the same spot, 3. And then next spot we can go in is under the stitch marker. And now you can see how it's creating this shape where we're getting the bump for our cloud. Our next row is number 7. And we're going to start with a single crochet. So let's pull 1 band through and move that stitch marker. And then we are going to do 3 single crochets in the next. So we're going to do 3 in one spot. So it's 1, back right in the same spot, 2, and then 3 back in the same spot. So we've got a single stitch and then 3 in the spot, and then we're just going to continue all the way around with single crochets to finish it up. All of our increases and stuff were right there at the beginning. So we're just going to do single crochets all the way around. So it's been a long time since I've made a video, which I was very sad about, but it couldn't be helped because I had gotten some tendonitis in my thumb, and I actually wasn't able to move my thumb. It was stuck like this and I couldn't bend it. And I ended up wearing a brace for 2 weeks. The doctor said that would make it better, but it actually did nothing. So I ended up having to go see a orthopedist who specializes in hands, and he gave me a cortisone shot right in the tendon. And after a couple of days, turned out I could move it, which I was real happy about. Because it's really hard to do stuff, like buckle your seatbelt, turn the car on, brush your teeth if you don't have your thumb. That was one of the more difficult injuries I've ever had, just because of the way it affected my everyday stuff. Alright, so then we're back. We've just done single stitches all the way around, and that's ending row 7. And now we're going to do row 8. And we are going to start row 8 with a decrease. So we have 1 stitch on, and we're going to gather another stitch up, and we're going to do a decrease. So we're pulling that band through here, through both that were there. And we're going to move our stitch marker to the next spot where we can put it in, and we're going to do a single stitch. Then we're going to do another decrease. So we're going to grab 1 and then grab a second stitch and connect them both with 1 band, because now we're decreasing. And then we're going to do 12 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. and we still have some left. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do a decrease. So we're grabbing the first stitch there and then the second one that's available to us. We're going to decrease those by bringing them both through one band, and then we're going to do a single crochet to end it. And then our hook goes back under where it was before. Now we're ready for our next row. In our next row, we're going to start it with 2 single crochets. So here's 1 single, and I'm going to move the stitch marker. And then a second single in the next stitch. Single in the next. And then we're going to do a decrease. So we're going to grab the next stitch and then the one next to it and pull that through with 1 band. And then we're going to do 9 single crochets in 9 stitches. 1, moving to the next stitch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a 9. I'm going to do 9 singles, and then our next is going to be a decrease. So we're going to grab 1, and then we're going to grab the next, and we're going to decrease. And we still are not at our stitch marker, so we're going to do 2 single crochets in the last. 1, and move over to the next stitch and do your second. 2. And I know we're not counting in even rows and stuff, but this is what's giving us this interesting shape. Back under the stitch marker, and we're going to do row number 10. We're going to start row number 10 with a decrease. So we've picked up our first stitch, and let's do another stitch on the hook. So we're going to decrease that. And then we're going to do 10 single stitches. All the way we're going to go around. So 1, hold on. Let me move a stitch. I forgot to move a stitch marker. That was the decrease. That's the stitch number 1. Now we do 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and our last here is 10. And then we're gonna do a decrease. So we're gonna grab 1 and 2 for a decrease. And we're gonna, after this, we'll finish it, the last stitch here with a single. Right there. And then back under. Our next row is number 11, and we're going to start with 12 single stitches all the way around. Going around. It's not going to go all the way. So that's 1, and we're going to move that stitch marker. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Whoops. Oh, that one flew out. That was 10. Yeah. And this is 11. And now you should have one stitch left. That's next to before your stitch marker right here. And we're going to put 3 single crochets in this one spot. 1, 2, and then a 3rd, because we're starting to increase again. And then underneath our stitch marker, and that's where we are, just like this. Now I'm going to take my stitch marker out. Now actually I take my hook out, and I'm going to put my stitch marker to hold all 3 of those bands, because now we're going to add the face. And we're adding the face kind of early in on the process, but I found that it was really hard to get the face centered and where I wanted when I was trying to stick my finger through. So we're just going to go ahead and put our face on now. I'm going to get my eyes. So if you look at this one that I have, if you kind of want it in the center, it needs to be you know, kind of like it's a little close to the edge, but one eye is about there. And then the other eye is about there. You know, when you're doing Loomigurumi, you can kind of figure out where your favorite eye placement is. The safety eyes, they have, whoops, eye popped out. They have these little plastic backers, and you just snap them in. So there's my eye. I'm gonna push it in. And I have trouble with these sometimes. Okay, you think with all the crafting I do, I'd have nice strong fingertips, but sometimes they're hard for me. And let's see, where should we put our second eye? I usually like my eyes kind of close. I'm going to do this right there. So I'm going to, oops, it keeps wanting to pop out because the hole is a tiny bit bigger than, so snap it in. Pushing and it makes 2 clicks. That's what I'm listening for. 1 and 2. There we go. There's my eye. And then I'm going to add my mouth. So I'm going to take a black band and I'm going to snip it. And I'm just going to find where I want my little mouth. I'm going to thread one in through and another in through, and I'm going to make a knot on the back, and that will make a little mouth. So once it goes through, you can tie it in a knot. And then it will adjust a little bit when we put the stuffing in. Now, if you don't have safety eyes and you want to use bands, you can take 2 black bands, put them on your hook, wrap it around 1 time, take everything on the hook and wrap it around again. So you've got kind of this big bump of bands. Slide it through onto 1 band, just like this. Get it all on there. And then all you'll need to do is go up through one side, pull it down, keeping it on your hook on the inside, stick it up through the other one, grab the other empty hook, and then the other empty loop, make a slip knot, and then you have your eye. You have to be careful not to pull it through, like I just did. and that will give you your eye. Or you can use, some people have used pony beads, so that's also another option. So now we're going to move on to row number 12. So I'm going to put my hook back through where my stitch marker is. So back through the first, this loop, 1 loop, and then 2 more loops. And we're going to start with a single crochet. I'm going to move him over to the side. And let's get some more bands. Okay, we're going to start with a single. So I'm going to pull 1 through. Oops. I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to put my stitch marker back on. And then Then we're going to do 3 stitches in the next. So we're looking for the next, which is right here, and we're going to put 3 stitches in it. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to do 10 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, his eye popped out. 6, 7, 8, 9, and our last one is 10. And then we're going to do 3 more single crochets in this next stitch right here. We're going to put 3 in there. So we're doing 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to end with 1 single in the last. Right here, 1 single. And we're putting our hook under the stitch marker. And now my poor guy looks like a pirate because he lost his eye. I'll just pop it right back through there. Oh, that's better. He's less like a pirate now. Our next row is row number 13, and we're just going to do a whole row of single crochet all around. So you put your first one in, move your stitch marker, so that's 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And that puts us back at the beginning, under our stitch marker. Just like that. Okay, our next row, number 14, we're going to do a little bit of decreasing. So we're going to do 16. We're going to start with 16 stitches around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And then we're going to do a decrease. So we're going to grab 1 and 2 to decrease. We're almost done. Just a couple more rows. Stitch marker underneath the end there. Sometimes you look like a sad little clown. Now we're going to do 14 single crochets. So here's our first. So that's 1. Moving the stitch marker. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then our last single is 14. And then we're going to do a decrease. We're going to grab 1, we're going to grab 2 stitches, we're going to do a decrease, and then we're going to finish this row with a single. The last spot there, single. Oops. Single. Not a crazy stitch. Very good. And then we've got 2 more rows. We're going to do a decrease and a single all the way around. So we've got 1 on, we're going to decrease it, decrease, and then we're going to do, move that stitch marker. So we did decrease, now we're going to do a single, and we're just going to repeat that pattern around. So then we grab the next 2 for a decrease. And then we're going to do a single. Decrease. Don't worry, we didn't forget to stuff him. Single in the next. Decrease, so we're grabbing 2. Single. A decrease. And then a single. We've got, we're going to end with another single since we're off. The count wasn't an even count. So we'll just end with a single here. And we're going to put our hook back in. And now I'm going to stuff it. So I'm going to take off my stitch marker. And I'm going to put it on here so that I don't have my hook kind of flailing around. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stuff him. So I've got some stuffing. You can use anything, old bands, cotton balls. Would only take 2 or 3 of the big cotton balls. And I have a bag of fiber fill that I've had for years. Since you're using so little, you can kind of, you know, it lasts. If you end up buying a huge bag, it'll last. And a lot of places like Hobby Lobby or Joann's or Michael's, I don't think has stuffing. they have it on sale sometimes with a coupon. So I'm gonna move my, put my hook in just to make my stick my knot facing upwards. That way it looks more like a smile. And my cloud needs a tiny bit more, just a little bit more. Then I'm happy with my cloud. And now we're ready to close. We're going to do our last row here. So I'm going to put my hook back in where my stitch marker was holding. And I'm going to do a decrease. So I've got it on my hook already. I'm going to take another stitch on my hook, pull a band through those two. So I'm going to do a decrease and then another decrease. And then I'm just going to keep decreasing around this row. So that's about 3 decreases. And then another is 4. And then another is 5. And then our last one here is 6 decreases. So pull that through like this. And then I'm going to secure it. I'm going to go underneath the next stitch to secure it there. And I'm going to pull one band through all that, make a slip knot. And you have this extra little tail hanging here. You can just stick your hook up in the back and pull it through, hiding it in the back. So that is, I did notice he needed kind of a little squish to get the bands in shape. So this is my little cloud. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd love to see your versions of my Loomigurumi and my other things on my channel. So it'd be great if you could tag me on Instagram at SRSDesigns, or you can find me on Facebook at SRSDesigns also. So thanks for watching. I'd love to see your creations and keep looming.